Why do so many expats not make it in Spain? The first group I want to talk about are the retirees, the pensioners. They come here on a fixed income, they get caught with the exchange rates. They then struggle because they didn't have a lot of money to start with, and on a basic state pension, it can be quite financially crippling. If I was a pensioner myself, and put it in perspective, I think the pension today is about £110 a week. So let's work that out in euros. So your pension is going to come in at about 600. Could be above, could be below. Exchange rate's going like that. It's been between 121 and 145 recently, I think. But I want to do a breakdown. First thing you've got is electricity bill. We find ours fluctuates slightly, but it's not. It comes in about 80 a month. But what I'm finding is they'll add, like this bill was 37 days. So you've got to bear that in mind. It goes up slightly and down the next. You've got your food bill, which for a single person or couple is a lot less than ours. You've got your water bill, comes in at about 40. You've got your going out, which I put €10 a week, which I think is rather conservative, because even if you go to KFC or something like that, it's normally cost me about 20 euros a time. Not for me, for the family. Transportation, about €40 a month, because although you can get a bus pass, like for La Mata, Torrevieja, you can get a €7 bus pass for the whole area, and that's pretty much all you have to pay. You will find that sometimes you need a taxi now and again because of where you are and what time it is. Then you've got your telephone and internet, another €50. And then miscellaneous. I'll put 50 down as miscellaneous. So you can get an idea of how quickly your budget gets swallowed up. Now, I know some people are going to say, but I don't spend as much as that. This is a rough guide. The other thing I will say is, I know some people where a partner's got sick and in a bad way that they need nurse care. That's not in this budget, is it? They need home helps. If they want to go out the house, they need to pay somebody to get them out of their house. Those aren't in this. This is what I'm saying. Just take this as roughly what you're going to be spending. If you're in good health, no issues, no problems. But if you started having a car, for example, you've got the fuel cost on that. Although you could take your miscellaneous fuel costs, I'm sure you'll be spending more than €10 a week on driving around. Then you've got your car insurance, your maintenance, your ITV, all that sort of stuff. So there is a lot of costs that could be added to this very, very easily. This is just a conservative estimate of what I would say would be the average person's costs, but they could be much, much higher. The reason I want to put this forward is a lot of people go, well, we'll be alright, we'll just live in a flat. We'll just like we do in the UK. But because you're here, you find out you go out more, and if you go out more, you spend more. It's a bit like going to the supermarket to just buy some milk. They put the milk as far away from the the door entrance as possible, because they know you're going to go, I'll get some bread while I'm here. Oh, have we got some butter? And then you end up, oh, those snacks are on sale. They know they upsell. So bear that in mind. Your expenses can often be a lot higher than you assume. The next group are the families. The families struggle more than anybody else because obviously they've got a lot more expenses. But in Spain, finding work is extremely difficult. What you find is, for the average Brit, if you don't speak Spanish, you're going to struggle completely. The odds on finding something are very slim, but finding something that's pretty good is well paid is even less. You also got the fact that as the EU opened up, because obviously people have been coming to Spain before the EU become what it is today, you've now got influxes of former Eastern Bloc people, which can undercut you pretty much on anything. Even in the UK, I mean, I've had Portuguese living a couple of doors up from me. There's 16 people living in the one house, a 4-bedroom house. You can't compete with that sort of dedication, say it politely, to actually make their transition happen. So for a family, you're going to struggle. You also find things like the schools have a lot of hidden expenses because you pay for the books. Although they say the school's free, you still got to pay for books. You've still got to pay for excursions. You've still got to pay for the food. You may also have to pay for transportation. I know for us, the food costs us about €90 per child a month. I know for somebody going to the same school, if they were outside our catchment, they would be paying another €70 a month per child for the bus as well. So you've got those extra factors that soon add up. They can run up quite expensive bills very quickly. You can see why so many people take their kids out at lunchtime and they pick them up directly from school, because the transportation could be expensive, the food's expensive. And I know somebody go, oh, well, it's not that. It works out at €4.50 a day for, like, my son, who doesn't eat the food 90% of the time. So it's the equivalent of a fast food restaurant cost, which I would actually expect the school to be cheaper because they've got a captive audience. But anyway, so you find that finding work's difficult, the wages are low, getting a work contract is difficult because most of the jobs are short term. They don't want to pay tax, and they don't want to take any responsibilities for you in paying your tax. So a lot of companies do not want people that are long term. Teaching as well, you'll find a lot of teachers are laid off before Christmas so that they don't have to pay their holiday pay, and then they come back, if they bother at all, after Christmas, etc. You've got to be aware of these sort of things. It's a far more aggressive country in that sense than the UK. Well, 0-hour contracts in the UK these days, hard to say, but not integrating will make things very difficult, because if you do not speak Spanish, you've already wiped out 95% of the jobs. You've certainly wiped out 95% of the well-paying jobs, if not more. Bob the builder and Gary the pool cleaner, they're here in their droves. Everybody does it. So the fact is, assuming you're going to do the same job as other people, there's been people here decades that have been doing it, and you trying to get in on their business, they've seen people come and go. You got to remember, I've dealt with the pub trade in the UK, and one of the things they do not talk about in the pub trade is how they talk people into buying bad pubs. The breweries know the pubs don't make any money, and what they do is they'll take your money. They'll take you on a lease. Say Enterprise Inns, for example, will take you on a lease. They know within 12, 18 months you'll be bankrupt. So what they do is they start buying your stuff back. So they go, oh, well, I haven't got the rent for this month. Okay, well, we'll buy your furniture back. And they'll take ownership of your furniture. Then the next thing is like, oh, well, we'll take the value of the stock back. And then you're out in your ear. That's how it works. It's a cycle. They look for, I wouldn't say they go out their way to look. They know exactly who their market is. Let's just put it that way. But they're expecting these pubs to just continually change hands. They're a loss for you. Them, they don't care, because they make money off you, and they're still selling the beer one way or the other. So they don't lose, you lose. But it's one of those things where people go, I'm going to retire and I'm going to own a pub. I'm going to own a restaurant. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Spain's a bit like that. Most of the Brits that come here have the same ideas. And unless you've got something unique and a bit different and in the right area, the odds on you surviving is going to be pretty slim. So unless you integrate, you're not going to do well. Unless you've got a way of making your own income, you're not going to do very well. If you're expected to make a UK salary, it ain't going to happen for 90% of people. for a family, it can be quite expensive here. Single people can survive a bit better. Younger single people, because often they'll share a flat. You might, like our 2-bed here might have 4 people living in it, because you could have a couple in the, well, maybe 6, because you could have 2 people, a couple in one room and a couple in another, and then the sofa beds, so you could have 6 people in this apartment. And that's the reality. That's why they can survive. They don't need as much money. They work together if they have a bit of common sense. But they're still doing crap work. They're doing all the bar work with low pay, etc. But for them, it's more of a experience than setting a life up. So these are the main reasons people fail in Spain. Now I'm going to do the next video on who succeeds and how they succeed. Thanks for watching.